Okay, we're back. It's Sunday, fun day. I did this last week and I had so much fun at it. I'm going to do it again because this is a way for me to randomly, because I don't announce in advance, just start showing you some stuff. And Sunday is one of my favorite mornings. Today in particular, it's like 20 degrees on the way to 40, snow on the ground. It's quiet. My son has had breakfast with me and he's just chilling. So today I'm excited. I've got something that I'm going to introduce that is another in my line of add-ons for the Fluent community that will go inside of the Minute Launch Kit, but will also be available as a standalone. It's a tool that not everybody might need or want, but once you see this, I think a lot of you might change your mind and think, there's a point there. So here's the backdrop. When I started in social networking, it was with a Trike Pilot, which the web domain is still here. I've got a parked thing. I put a newsletter up here called Aviator Week. But if one were to go into Facebook, there's the remainder of that Facebook group. And I have about 10,000 or so Trike Pilot Social Facebook, about 10,000 or so members. That's the page. Here it is. So let's see if this will actually launch. Yeah. So basically, 10,900 members. This is something I've been doing since about 2000. And in the process, I started on the Ning network and then famously Social Go. And that's where a lot of my expertise and interest in development and online stuff came. And ultimately, it came on over to WordPress. And for a while, I was running it inside of a Buddy Boss, Buddy Press, BB Press. I tried all of them. And because this particular social network has a bunch of pilots who are not necessarily interested in spending money, it didn't really turn out to be that anybody spent the money necessary for me to be interested in continuing to develop cool stuff. Oh, I'm browsing around. Let me do this. Sorry. What I'd originally shown you was this Trike Pilot. This is where I had tried the original Buddy Boss, Buddy Press stuff. Previous to that, it was on Ning and Social Go. But ultimately, it's here. There's about 10,900 pilots around the world. And this gentleman, Job, I finally enlisted to help me just manage it. And he runs it right now. And he does a great job because he's still flying. I am no longer really flying. And what I was saying is, if you don't have an alignment in your day-to-day to manage a social network, it's going to suck the life out of you, even if you love it. I don't have an airplane anymore at the moment. I don't fly. These are amazing. You might want to check this out later. Amazingly cool devices. But there's a great need for this. And when I started it, there was just a few hundred people around the world. So I'm very happy that it became what it became. But ultimately, what happened with me is that I realized that the tools for managing were better on the back end than they were on the front end. Because when you're doing a social network, let's share again here, this screen. When you're doing a social network, even with the Fluent community as lightweight it is, I have two issues. And I'm starting to see this already. Number one, by necessity, the Fluent community is an incredibly advanced plugin that I'm so in love with for how little time it's taken to get here. But number one, the management on the front requires you, first of all, to bounce to a side menu to get the various settings here, which isn't the primary purpose of what I'm about to show you, but like just the idea that if you want to manage your courses, right, you got to go sort of maybe to the back end to do your menu settings, to do topics, to involve yourself in managing members, right? Like this is something that makes me just confused. So here's my back end that has all the stuff in it. But if I want to manage members, I have to go to the front end, click on members. And then when I'm in members, I have to presumably just do each individual by themselves, which by itself is not a problem. It's just that like there's odd things that make it hard for me to get to the content. If I was having a chat with somebody, I would probably go here to the chat thing. I've got a conversation with Curtis, right? That by itself doesn't bother me. But the information in this conversation, he was asking me some questions, is pretty much lost to the wind. And another thing that kind of makes it hard for me is like, let's say I want to post something in the feed. I cannot take certain no embed stuff like Loom. I make all my tutorial videos on Loom. If I go here, does Loom work? And I try to either paste the embed video, which will not work, right? It'll just strip it out. No, it does not work. Or if I edited it and I tried to, for example, put a link in, the link won't work. You're going to have to trust me on this. I've tried it a million ways, but if I use like the O embed for video, it's just not set up. Now, I didn't try this yet, so I'm actually going to try this. Hold on, let's see if that works. Ah, fantastic. Okay, so this is a great example of how the team has finally caught up. They've actually solved, yes, with the special tool modification. So basically what they did is they recognized, and I appreciate this one very much, they recognized that sometimes you're going to try to embed stuff that doesn't have an O embed reliance or doesn't have something that's pre-made. Now, what if we approach this differently? Because all of this great information that's going to exist inside your private or public community is secondarily not just hard to get to and manage, right? Like everything from the spaces and the discussions within them, but also the people. But it's lost to the wind because let's say, for example, I've been running TrackPilot forever. I had 10 or 20 years of social net, well, 2000 to 20. Oh my God, it's not 15 years, it's longer. So it's like 24 years of content that's lost. It's just not accessible because it was not in a format that could be easily reused or repurposed or anything like that. So what I would want, considering I have those other tools that I was showing you, like over here, School WP, I've got this brand new tool that's allowing me to, and soon to be released for you guys, allowing me to, let me see if I can get in here, allowing me to share and repurpose through an AI tool any of the data that I've picked up for support purposes otherwise, right? So I've shown you this before. I've got this AI tool that allows me to preload it with all kinds of content and then spit out new content, social media content, schedule stuff, answer comments, questions. In other words, everything that I've got is suddenly available from my own network. Well, I wanted to attach that to the Fluent community content because some of the coolest new stuff is actually not going to be coming from just Spence Publishing. It's going to come from what's on the back end. So here is what my Sunday Fun Day releases. And the font on this is going to be horrifically small, but you're going to have to just bear with it. Let's just go for that. I think that's going to do it. This is not released yet. I'm probably going to release it today. It's going to be released as a part of the Minute Launch software bundle as a standalone plugin, or you can get it on your own probably, just like I did for the customizer, which has also improved so many things for so many people already. This allows me to have all of the content from the front presented on the back in a way that I can search and find and edit and manage. And more importantly, soon, connect into as a resource to the AI support tool that I've got, so that one of the sources would be comments or posts or members. I will be able to analyze all of the information that is being created and stored from my Fluent community. For those of you who are doing things where you're using Fluent community to create coursework or have discussions, this is invaluable because the best information of all is going to come from these discussions that, like in my case with TrackPilot, is now lost to the wind. I mean, there's just, maybe I could recover it if I went back. I still have the original Buddy Boss Buddy Press, but I'd have to just do a bunch of stuff to dig it out of there. Whereas wouldn't it be cool if going into this, you had the option? So let me give you a couple examples. First of all, even though it is incredibly awesome that these guys have sorted out how to do an iframe, there's a million things that you cannot do to put content into the feed, because by necessity, there has to be public filters on the interface to prevent the people doing naughty stuff. But if you're the admin of the site, it would be much easier if you could edit on the back end and do anything you want, especially if that content was fed in from elsewhere. So for example, here is the posts. And if I search for, Loom, first of all, it'll pull out any content that matches what I'm looking for so I can address it quickly. That by itself is a huge deal. If I want to see, there's a conversation about header, okay, or Curtis. I think it'll do that because I saw Curtis had posted, right? Being able to get to the content on the back end efficiently and use it for part of your search results, really huge. But if, let's say I did Loom, here now I have 2 posts, right? And I have ID number 9 and 10. The one that I had done before, it allows me to show the content with the proper WYSIWYG editors using Tiny MCE that I've applied the filters to, so they're still safe, but they allow me more flexibility both in what I'm editing as well as what I put up. Also, you'll notice I'm able to put as much content as I want. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to do this, but like if I wanted to, I could literally put 3 videos, which you cannot do with their new tool. Let's see if this works. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, because I just finished this morning. I could put 3 videos in, or I can embed short codes, or I can execute other code, which I have not fully tested, but I'm quite sure is going to work. So let's take a look here if this works. First of all, this is the one that says, here's a Loom video. So here's a Loom video. Let's see what comes out. And you'll notice I have 3 videos posted. Now, that in of itself is a pretty big deal. What if you just wanted to do a discussion feed where instead of making a discussion and a reply and a response and a reply and a response, you just wanted to have like, here's a mini course. Pretty cool. Here's another example. I'm not sure if this works otherwise, but the idea that since I can now edit directly and I'm a big boy, I can take something that is an embeddable page or something. So I had done the other day, I had shown how we can use Canva for sales pages. Let's take this, which was otherwise the design that I used that had a call to action. I had shown how you can have a product that you can sell. Let's go ahead and take this embed. Copy. And let's do a test. First of all, let's see what happens if I try to embed it, because this may work on its own. I'm not sure. Does this work? Okay. I don't know which of these things is supposed to be used for embedding. So I'm going to try to hijack. That's not going to work. I'm going to try to hijack. I wonder even how I'm going to do this. I want to hijack the ability to embed something directly into the feed. And let's see if I post this, what happens. I know it's not going to work. Yeah, it shows obviously this weird Canva, like it's the shell. Let's see if I can get it to work another way. First of all, let's delete this. There's documents, there's GIF. Let's see. Again, I don't know if I use this box. Let's see if it'll work. Maybe this will work. That works. Okay. So pretty cool that they're agnostic to what's being embedded. And that means at least I can get to it. Let's update it and see what happens if I try to edit this afterwards. I got to give it a message. Testing sales page embed. So that's good. I like that they've done that. That actually makes a couple of these things easier. Short codes do not work on the front end, as far as I know. We're going to test this in a second. And I'm bringing these things up because I'm just having this Sunday fun day. I'm sharing with you the stuff that I've invented to scratch my own itch, which is I want to just put my stuff in here, right? So I'm showing you live because I just wrote it last night, what I'm able to do. Interestingly, when I use this method, let's see if I click here, I don't know how to get back to it, to be honest. I guess you can remove the media, but here's an obvious itch scratch right here. So I embedded it. It clearly took the content, processed it, saved it, but now I can't get back to it. What do? I don't know. I may be missing something, but there doesn't seem to be an obvious control that allows me to do anything unless I were to remove it altogether and start over. Okay. So let's do something different. Let's go on the back end and let's go back over here to posts. And I can see here's the video that I just embedded. With this, I can now go ahead and edit to my heart's content. I can get rid of that weird wrapper, that's around the tool or the embed. And I can also do some cool stuff just in line. Now, I'm going to try some short codes too, but let's go over, for example, to visual mode and go, if we can do some like high-end tiny MCE code, right? So this is a headline. Because I've got the tiny MCE, let's see what happens if I do this. Get rid of that. Let's see if it honors any of that. And I'm going to also see whether or not, for example, just on a color scheme basis, it honors any of that. I think it might. Notice this is all old school stuff and we can do more, but I'm just trying to demonstrate some of the things that when you're running a network, let's say you embed something and a bunch of copy and it doesn't work out. What a drag it is to have to start over, right? Or worse. Now, I'm pretty excited that that worked pretty well. There's something below it, which I don't know what that was, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. This gives me a more direct approach to get to what I want to do. Notice here, by the way, this might be something that's, I'm curious about this. Like, I think this is what's happening under the hood is that there's a media preview. And so the media preview is sort of like creating the thing that shows up on the screen. I'm going to try to break this. I'm just going to remove that. Just want to see what happens here. Let's see if that does any change. Okay, so that got rid of all that sloppy stuff at the bottom. So it's proving to me, to my satisfaction, if I was running the network and I wanted to see like, there's stuff on here I want to edit, like try to edit this on the front. Not really possible. You're kind of screwed. I just have remove it and start all over. And then how do I start all over with this? I don't even know what the embed code is. I'd have to know how to inspect this with Chrome Inspector or something. And then even then, I don't know if I'm going to get to it. Whereas with the Fluent Community Manager, I just simply look for the post. You know, in this case, I don't know if I had the word Canva in there, but search for Canva. I go, oh, there's the post. And I can do other things to edit here as well, of course, right? So I can get rid of the message and I can just say something else. This is about Canva. I noticed that the preview did not recreate itself. So I'm sure if I had put that in there, it would have saved something. I can update the time. I put in, for example, not on the time, but on the dates, I put in calendar fields. So we'll see on one of the other ones if that's still active. All right, let's see what happens if I do a short code. Now, I don't know if this is going to work. This might be a complete disaster, but I am doing this because it's fun. And I've created a tool that I already know scratches my itch that I'm going to share with you guys. So let's see what I can break. I'm going to add a new element. And I'm using Cadence Elements because this allows me to easily create something that's got a shortcode wrapper around it, right? So I'm just going to create, I don't really know the difference between these content sections. So some content to embed in feed with shortcode. That way I won't be mistaken about what it is. Let's just do something stupidly simple. I'm going to put in a row. And in the row, I'll just put something like an image, right? Because that way I can do something quick. And let's see if this breaks or not. I'll select an image from my library. Oh, let's just use this image. I'm going to make sure that the visibility on this is set to entire site and for all people. Publish. And this is just going to give me something. I don't have this fully sorted out or design wise, but like just to save and share. Okay. So if we go back, let's see what happens. I have not tested this yet. So I do not know if it's going to execute properly. It was what I coded, but I don't know if it's going to work. So there's the message original. Let's go, for example, into text mode and put a shortcode in, crossing my fingers. I do not know if this will work. I'm hedging enough. Let's refresh and see what happens. So far, no. It doesn't mean it won't. Let's see, by the way, what happens if I were to put a shortcode in here. Let's see if it works on the front end. I'm quite sure it does not, right? Let's see if we edited here, whether a shortcode would work with this HTML embed. I'm pretty sure it will not because, yeah, Oh, I don't know. Let's see, testing. No, it's just plain text. All right, let's delete that. Or no, we'll just edit it on the back end. Let's see one thing. Let's see if I made a new page, add new page. Let's see if this embed actually works, first of all, because in case I'm just not seeing it no matter what. So what I'm gonna do is just publish this and see if that actually executes. And probably what I need to do here is do shortcode. I'm also going to see whether or not if I put it into a page, whether the page executes, but I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, so the embed is working. So let's try one more time. Instead of in the message area, let's try it in here. I'm going to refresh the page because I deleted a bunch of stuff. Let's see what happens if I just put it in here. Does shortcode execute? Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't, because one of the things I've not tested yet is order of priority. What has to happen when the content is created here and saved in the database, it has to execute in order to save it. And I can see that it's not working. So that is not going to happen. Let's see if I go into visual mode, whether that happens. I see the reason is probably these little brackets are being put in because it's illegal characters. So I'm going to have to, for the editor fields, change my filter a little bit to get rid of those things. And maybe, just maybe, not working yet, I'll get this to work today where it'll execute a shortcode. So I'm going to work on that. Okay, back to the primary thing that I want to do with this. What I am looking to do with this is I have this ability now to very quickly, if somebody wants some help, to notify myself that there's a new message. Obviously, I can be notified inside the plugin itself, but I can have something on the back end that would, for example, be pre-searching for things to notify me, things that might have my name in it, and just directly send me the links to what it is. And I could, for example, either go right to the front end or I could go right to the back end. Gives me the ability to edit some of the things that somebody might submit to me. So like we were just talking about, let's go over here. Somebody says a word or whatever I don't think should be appropriate. I could edit it there. I can do that on the front end too. I can click on the user's profile. If I have Fluent CRM installed, it also gives a link directly to their contact profile, which is nice. Okay. So the basic idea is that I have access to the people and to the content. And if I wanted to see the whole thread, I could just look at the whole thread here. There's a link to the thread ID, right? So that's useful. You can see which threads go together. The comments, these are comments that go with posts. I can see right here, they're comments that go with posts. So same idea. For moderation of comments, there's a lot of possibility I can see. I'm not sure how far I'm going to go with that, because even though we've got powerful tools for comments inside of WordPress, I think inside the community, most of the comments are going to be inbounds. The idea of a social network is that the people should be directed, and I had good luck with this in the last 20 years, to just behave with the golden rule. So I don't think I'm going to put moderation of comments in as one of the things I mess around with. I'm more interested in managing the content. This is probably the most useful feature of all. The content that is created by anybody as posts. This is what the meat and potatoes is that normally gets lost. I don't have yet, and I got to see if it's going to show up here. I don't have any actual coursework. So when I create the coursework, I know this is the topics. When I create the coursework, it'll probably have, here's the courses, here's the course setup, here's the discussion. I'll see where the lessons show up. I'm not sure if they'll have a separate tab. But I think this by itself is going to be a useful enough tool, and I'll play with it more today to see what else happens. But if I can get it to execute shortcodes, if I can get it to mix and match content, for example, What if you did have a Learn Dash course and you just rather have a Learn Dash course embedded into your thing? That'd be pretty crazy, right? I think it's possible. The concept behind this is really simple. The View app, which is really efficient, is delivered to your browser whenever you go to the portal. But it has to be like a quiche. It has to be baked with all of its content in the oven of WordPress. So what's happening is it's very efficient because the JavaScript is being sent and the content is being sent to the browser, but it doesn't require the browser to keep checking back on things. I mean, it does through Ajax, but it doesn't have to be like PHP where everything is back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to the server. And that's one of the reasons why it's so fast. But in order to make that happy, if you wanted to embed a shortcode or something, you're gonna have to put content in place that's an iframe. Now, obviously, we can iframe in a page, right? That's super stupid easy. I don't want that to be the way to do this, but if I was speaking out loud about that, if we went back over here to what we were futzing around with, I could use the WYSIWYG editor to embed a page, right? Or an iframe a page in, right? So this one doesn't have, I had a tool that allows you to instantly iframe a page, but there's better ways of doing it. I use that over here, for example. I said new page. There's a tool that I had used. It's a code somebody else had written, but it's, let me see here, hold on. No. I don't want to put the plugin in on my side. I'm just going to do a good old-fashioned iframe. So let's just see what happens out of my curiosity. Let's go back to this element. And let's view this. And this says the header and other things. So like what I would probably suggest is if we edited this, let's just make sure it has only content. I don't think, it's interesting. I don't think this by itself will embed as a page. I think I'm gonna have to put it in a page. So let's go back to that page that I created a moment ago. Let's see if I can do this. If I go to pages, all pages. Let's edit this and let's get rid of the header and the footer. And let's just see what happens when I try this, because again, I think the shortcode is going to work once I get that squared away today, but let's see what happens if I go here and on a page, we'll disable this, disable this, disable the header, disable the footer. Let's save this. And let's just see if I take the URL of that page. It's kind of sloppy because it's got some stuff, but let's just see if this functionally will work. And we're going to go back over here to the WYSIWYG editor, and we'll do it in the response. We'll go text. I think they actually have a tiny MCE. I'm not seeing it here, but I thought they had like an instant iframe link, not in this setup. Okay, I won't bother with it, but let's just do text because I'm not going to end up using any iframes. That's not going to be the way I do this, but let's see. Iframe source equals. And let's do, let's equals 100%, right, equals, I don't know, let's just do something fixed right now. I just want to see whether or not it will strip out with the current setup. Okay, it's keeping that there. So now let's go to the front end and refresh and see what we spit out. Okay, so it does work with an iframe, of course, which actually gives me confidence because if I can make that happen, these other little nuances, these will be easy. I'm not going to do that during my live stream now, but I believe that what's going to happen is I'll be able to set up TinyMCE and or my filters so that it's just taken the element from the shortcode, and it's not going to need it to be executed in a page first. And it should be fine. Just like what happens with the home page here, like with the Fluent Community Customizer, if I'm logged out of this network, this properly shows the embedded content for the club, which is a sales page, right? So you'll see this. So wouldn't it be cool? I think it's certainly likely. I'll do the same concept, but I'll be able to do this for the backend tools. So in other words, if I were to come into here, I failed login. Hold on. If I were to come into here, I should be able to use a shortcode. I wish I had done that before today's live stream, but this is why Sunday is fun. Okay. A couple other concepts. Launch Kit today, I hope, is also going to be getting an update, because one of the things that had happened was the politics of what was going on with WordPress.org and Mullenweg and the rest of it. They decided that even though there's 80,000 plugins, almost all of which have an upsell to Pro, that somehow I was doing something that needed to be stopped. For example, if you were to go to plugins, add new, the shenanigans in here are crazy. But if you just did anything that involved one of Syed's plugins, right, like Awesome Motive, if you did like Opt-in Monster, I don't want to put it on this side. I'll put it on the other side. First of all, if you have this installed, I don't know if it still does it. It would block or otherwise overwrite other things and give warning messages against installing them, which was pretty hilarious. But if you installed any of the plugins, as I'll do on this other site, it would have everything be upsell, 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 upsell. Okay. Just to make my point, because unless they've changed something, this is what was so weird and ironic about the politics inside of WordPress, which I just choose not to bother with anymore. I don't need it. My audience and everybody, that maybe you guys included, can get to me regardless of whether anything's in the repository. So I want to see something. If I just add let's just add one of these plugins. And let's, by the way, also, because Launch Kit prevents this from happening, let's turn off Launch Kit. So I'm going to turn off these features, which are the preventative. And because what I'm saying, what I'm about to show you, is I'm redesigning Launch Kit to make it more intuitive and also to blend more closely with the ordinary plugin manager. So if we just use regular WordPress and we add this new plugin, let's see what happens as far as the politics of do as I say, not as I do, because it's just not worth the effort for anybody anymore to try to deal with that kind of nonsense. So let's see, Opt-in Monster. I put this plugin in by itself. And by the way, this is not unusual. This is like the norm now. Every single plugin in the repository, almost every, has some version of like, I'm going to grab you away and take your attention and put you through a process and try to sell you stuff. That's the whole point. LaunchKit just had a link that said, get the free pro version. But Matt was not happy with that. Okay, see, I just turned on the plugin. So first of all, it's completely hijacked me away to a setup wizard. Now imagine I'm doing this for a dozen or two or three or 100 clients, and every single time I turn on the plugin, it hijacks me away. It's absolutely unacceptable. That would be like if you got in your car and you turned the key and it locked the doors, handcuffed you, and drove you off. Okay, even when I go back to the dashboard, I'm back to there. Oh, upgrade to Pro. Oh, how unusual. And then inside of the dashboard, if you looked at any of these, 90% of these are all upsells. It's upsell, upsell. Everything is upsell, upsell, upsell. And when I mean upsell, look, you don't see it like I do, but this upsell, upsell. Every single thing on 11 menus is upsell. But according to Mullenweg, and according to the guy who's a nice guy who was in charge of following his orders, if LaunchKit had a free plugin that had one link that said upgrade to Pro, not even a banner, Spence is a bad guy, which we all know is nonsense. That was just because Spence was doing things that and saying things that spoke the truth about what's happening in the politics of WordPress. And Mullenweg and the people working for him right now live in fear of his next move. I am no longer worried about that because there's nothing I have that he can take away. So when you want to get Launch Kit, you go to WP Launchify, software bundle, and you can get the latest Launch Kit here. I host it on GitHub. Just click the button here, and that auto updates, right? As do all my plugins. When I do this new version, what I was hoping to do is if we go back on the back end here to Launch Kit, I wanted to fix this whole thing where I had to take out all of the good features and move them all inside these little boxes. Furthermore, I'm going to take this login method. So instead of using keys, I use membership. If you're a member of my WordPress membership site, why do I need to torment you with keys? Just sign in or use a proxy sign in for your account, and you can use this on an unlimited number of client sites. But what bothers me is that like this sign in, this login should probably be up in the top. And these features here with the updater, I want to integrate natively, which I'm going to see if I can do today, with the normal plugins menu, so that if you go back over to the plugins menu, you'll be able to interface with what's the latest stuff that you can get as part of your software bundle and install it here instead of having it in a different interface. Some of the other tools have been helpful, but not as much as I would have thought. And I think a lot of it has to do with just the fact that the core feature does the most. Having that stuff on the get started that stops all the spamming and stops the hijacking and stops the activation wizards, this paid for itself 1 billion times over. These other key features, the leader, I almost never use. The recipe manager, good idea, but I don't know if it's that big of a deal. It doesn't require like any special attention. The packages, and not so much useful anymore, because what I found is that nobody really wants to start literally from zero. They want to start from like a recipe. So the recipe manager over the packages. The license manager works really well, and that's just for those things that you need a remote access to, like the Cadence Cloud. It just takes care of it for you, right? Because I have the unlimited license to offer that to you. So I'm just giving you access in a way that you don't have to plug stuff in. I'm going to take these and reorient them. But mostly what's going to happen is that this interface, I hope, will just be a version or maybe blended into of the plugin manager. And it'll be more obvious that you've got the latest stuff or you need the latest stuff. But when you combine that with the AI tool, the AI support tool, by the way, I want to show you this because notice, remember I turned off all of the options. I turned off the options for Launch Kit. And I just want to show you what the experience is like. This is what normal people have to deal with when you don't have a Launch Kit, right? Like every single page, even in my own plugin, has got 1 million of these. Pay attention, you got to pay attention. And several of these are not dismissible. It's like you have to scroll down 40 feet till you get to bedrock. So let's turn Launch Kit back on. What I do here is I always click the top button, remove the first choice, click save. And now I deep breathe, because now I can go back to that same page, refresh, and I'm not faced with an onslaught of nonsense, especially when I go to things like the plugins page, right? So let's go to something here. Like I'm going to reset my zoom so it fits in there. If I go to the plugins page in particular, there's probably an undue amount of stuff. If I undo the notice is hidden, okay. All right. So in sum, today's fun day was, what is it that I can offer that I'm going to be releasing? And let's refresh my login, which is for managing a Fluent community site that will allow the administrator or the team members an interface on the back end that basically accesses all of the content that's created in the front end in a way that bypasses, overrules, gives additional tools, but then more importantly, allows you to connect the data with the AI support tool that I'll be releasing shortly to create new stuff from it. Like, here's a crazy example. Uh, you have a great conversation with 2, 3 people about a topic. Wouldn't it be cool if you just said, "Hey, AI, would you please reformulate this into a social media post?" Right? Now, I'm going to see, I can't really do that yet, but let me just see because I don't have my export set up yet. If I were to do, for example, this is just fun day type of thing. If I were to take this conversation with Curtis, and Curtis, I'm not trying to out you or anything, but just because this stuff is here. Sorry, dude. I'm just going to do this. Let's pretend I went over back to my AI tool, and I have not set this up yet for this purpose. So again, this is not yet customized for this purpose, but let's just see if I do it manually. I'm going to set it up, and let's just say content sources posts, and I'm going to add a new template. I'm going to call this social network discussions. Think like an expert in WordPress and being a great moderator of an intelligent forum of discussions from other WordPress users and experts. Answer in short and easy to understand bullets and give references to any content at, let's see, wplaunchfi.com or wplaunchkit.com if you want, as well as outside sources. Now, this is just a set of prompts that you can adjust to give a personality to this and to give some limits. I can use Spencer as the responder. So let's see what happens. If I paste all this stuff in here, we'll use my new social network discussions. I have not created a special social network thing, but I'm going to say social media reply. And let's do Spencer format. Let's just see what happens. I won't do the voice generation. Let's just see with my internal AI, without it being properly trained, if it can give me a response. Now, I haven't told it what to say or do, so I really should probably say, like, make a summary of it. But look what's happened already. Let's copy the response and let's just see. This is where the AI part is going to be super cool. Online text editor. Let's paste this for you guys to see. Okay. Kind of like responding in the way that that pre-arranged response template was, like a social media reply to somebody who maybe said these things. So thanks for your feedback. I appreciate it. That doesn't really give me a response. Let's do a different thing. Let's tell it how to act. I would like you to summarize all of this discussion into a new bulleted format that offers some additional insight and reading links. That's the output I want. Something to publish. Let's see if that changes the response a bit. I'm using ChatGPT 4 on this. You can use other engines. I'm going to program this to have really just about any engine you want. It doesn't matter. So you can use the tool that you prefer. Maybe you've got a pro version of something. Okay, so let's see what this response came up with. Again, these prompts are kind of crappy. So what it did is it went into third person mode. Hi, WordPress community. Here's a summary of a discussion with Curtis. And it summarizes it. I mean, it's interesting, but like the point being, it also allows me to spit out those custom links. I could also tell it if I wanted to give it a UTM variable so that it was easy to track this in particular, this discussion. So It would have a UTM like the source, as well as a specific thing that would later work in the Fluent CRM. So it's really fascinating to me because we can also use this to create graphics and artwork and so forth, right? So Luna, I think it's called Luna. What's the not Luna? What's the image generator? I used it last week. I forgot what it was. What is it? It's Luma. It's interesting. I've got Gemini. Let's see what this does. I've not tried doing the image creation as part of the process for this because I think voice and text is probably more relevant, but let's see that. This is a shitty prompt for sure. Because it's not really telling you what to make. It's just randomly doing whatever. Plus, I'm in the wrong spot with image creation. Sexually explicit. I don't know what could be considered by Gemini to be explicit in that. There we go. Hallucination is a big part of AI. That's one of the things that keeps me from wanting to show it directly to my clients because like it could just go off on a tangent. Okay. So let's say if we took 2 and 2 and added it together, what I'm getting at is this is a horrific thing, but if you had the data in your Fluent community and you could use it to automatically feed into an AI engine that created other content like a social media post or like a blog post, and then it could resave that as responses. And it could create not only images, but voices and other stuff, or even a whole podcast. You see where this is going, right? So this is the interface that I'm able to give to you to get the content all in one spot, and it's not an expensive cost. It's 47 bucks for a plugin or just the software bundle, and it works because I'm able to make sure that it's essentially compatible with all the other things in the kit. I had done an example podcast here between me and this artificial voice, Katie Brown, and all I did, and I can regenerate this, but all I did was I took content that was generated from one of the things I had done, and it made it into like back and forth repartee. And then I said, here's the 2 hosts, and I could organize it, I could edit it, I could do whatever. And then what happens is it's able to generate out of that a full podcast, which sounds pretty good, actually. I mean, that that's me. Here's Katie. And here's me, and here's Katie. Okay. I'm pretty interested in all of the possibilities. Today, I will see what I can do with the new Fluent Community Manager. I think if I get the shortcode thing working, I'm going to release it. I'll release it on the front of WP Launchify as a standalone. So like right now, WP Launchify, you can get the Fluent Community Customizer as a standalone, or you can get it as part of the software bundle. 47 bucks seems reasonable for all the updates and the fact that it's going to work together. It just also is my goal to make people understand the software kit is a much better arrangement for everybody because I can put unlimited stuff in there. And then when I do things in the club, like I'm doing today, you're going to have all the parts, all the continuity to just follow everything I do instead of having to go back to the flea market and try to buy your pieces yourself, right? Like this is the unlimited IKEA/Lego store pass. Just makes more sense to me. But if you want to get the stuff a la carte, you're welcome to. There were some questions in the Fluent community this week about some developers who were just talking ridiculous about what I'm doing and so forth, and that I'm somehow violating norms of the community. It's ridiculous because the whole point of WordPress is this: it's open source software. I can use everybody's code. They can all use my code. You can get the code from the author or not, but you're really only paying the author for support and updates and convenience. You're not paying them for the code. The idea of open source is that this creativity that can go on amongst various authors can build all kinds of new stuff. I mean, how else do we make new things if we don't merge them together? The whole WordPress ecosystem started and continues to thrive because the code is open. It's not locked behind paywalls. Everybody doesn't have to start from scratch every time. So I decided I'm just not posting into the community because there's so many people that just choose not to inform themselves of the actual laws and the facts that I don't really have the interest to teach them. I'm just going to do my thing and continue to do stuff like this. So this was fun. It was longer than normal, but I like being open and honest about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And also to share my own curiosity is, I don't know if it's going to work. I'm going to show you right here. So I hope you guys have a great weekend, the rest of the weekend, and I'll send an email out on this soon. And I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy.